I sent my sister flowers anonymously and accidentally made her husband think she was cheating. My sister Amy has been going through a really rough time lately. Her job has been super stressful and she's been feeling overwhelmed with everything. We talk on the phone like twice a week, and last Tuesday I could tell something was really wrong. Her voice sounded different, kind of hollow, and when I asked if she was okay, she just said she was fine, but then I heard her sniffle and I knew she was holding back tears. She tried to change the subject, but I kept asking what was wrong. She finally broke down and told me she'd been feeling depressed for weeks. Work was terrible, she wasn't sleeping, and she felt like she was drowning. It broke my heart hearing her like that. After we hung up, I wanted to do something nice for her. So I went online and found this local flower shop near her office. I ordered this really pretty bouquet with roses and lilies, her favorite flowers. When they asked what to put on the card, I just wrote, "Thinking of you," because I thought it would brighten her day. I didn't put my name because I thought it would be a nice surprise when she figured out it was from me. The flowers got delivered the next morning while Amy was at work. I was expecting a thank you text or maybe a confused phone call asking if I sent them. Instead, 3 hours later, I get this weird call from the flower shop. The lady on the phone sounded nervous and asked if I was the person who ordered flowers for Amy. I said yes, and she told me that a man had been calling them nonstop for the past hour demanding to know who sent his wife flowers. She said he'd called like 8 times and was getting really aggressive. He was threatening to come down to the shop and refusing to take no for an answer. The florist asked if they had my permission to tell him who sent them because he wouldn't stop calling and was starting to scare them. I was so confused. Then it hit me. Her husband Dan thought someone else sent them. I immediately said yes, tell him it was me, her brother. The florist sounded relieved and said she'd call him right back. About 20 minutes later, I get a text from Amy. She's clearly been crying. She told me what happened and I felt sick to my stomach. Apparently, when the flowers arrived at her office, she was so excited. She immediately called Dan to thank him for being so sweet and thoughtful. But Dan had no idea what she was talking about. He told her he didn't send any flowers and asked who they were from. When Amy read him the card that just said "Thinking of you" with no name, Dan completely lost it. He started accusing her of having an affair right there on the phone. He said her affair partner must have sent them and was basically screaming at her while she was at work. Amy tried to explain that it could be from anyone, maybe a friend or family member, but Dan wasn't listening. He hung up on her and immediately started calling the flower shop over and over, demanding they tell him who sent them. The people at her office heard the whole thing, and now everyone knows her husband accused her of cheating. By the time the florist told Dan it was me, the damage was completely done. Amy and Dan had this massive fight over the phone. He was embarrassed that he'd accused her of cheating, but instead of apologizing, he got defensive and said it was suspicious that I didn't put my name on the card. Amy told me they'd been fighting ever since. Dan keeps saying I should have known better than to send anonymous flowers to a married woman. Amy is more depressed now than she was before because everyone at her work witnessed her husband going crazy on her and their marriage is a mess. I tried to apologize, but Amy said it wasn't my fault. She's mad at Dan for not trusting her and for making such a huge scene. But Dan is still acting like I did something wrong on purpose. My friends all said I should have just put my name on the card and none of this would have happened. But I think Dan is the problem here for immediately jumping to cheating instead of trusting his own wife.